Good evening and welcome back. Now we move on to The Obsession with Cricket by Boria Mazumdar, Professor Ratnakar Shetty, Devendra Prabhudesai, and Nimish Patgaonkar. Boria Mazumdar is an Indian sports historian and journalist and has most recently authored Maverick Commissioner, the IPL Lalit Modi saga. He is the founder of RevSports, a digital first multi sports platform. Ratnakar Shetty, from being elected Joint Secretary of the BCCI in 2003 after serving on different committees of the board since the late 1990s, to being appointed the board's first Chief Administrative Officer in 2006 and later as its General Manager. Professor Ratnakar Shetty served Indian cricket in multiple capacities for over 2 decades. He also served the Mumbai Cricket Association with distinction for nearly 3 decades. He has authored 7 books, including biographies on Sunil Gavaskar, Sachin Tendulkar, and Rahul Dravid. Devendra Prabhudesai. Devendra has been a part of the cricket industry for more than 2 decades. He was part of Professional Management Group, India's first sports event management company, jointly headed by Mr. Gavaskar. After which, he joined the BCCI as Manager, Media Relations and Corporate Affairs. He has written 9 books on cricket, including biographies of Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, Mr. Sachin Tendulkar, and Mr. Rahul Dravid. He regularly presents cricket segments on Radio Nasha 91.9 FM. He has designed India's first cricket heritage walk in South Mumbai. Nimish Patgaonkar is technologist by profession and technology advisor to large corporations for their transformation roadmap. As a keynote speaker or technology expert, he has presented his point of view in many events or on television channels. He is a cricket columnist as well for leading publications and has presented key match overviews for radio FM channels. He is accredited by the International Cricket Council, BCCI, and other cricket boards. He writes on various subjects ranging from sports to technology and is author of 2 books. The discussion will be led by Nimish Patgaonkar, and I request him to take it forward.
Thank you, Renu, and good evening, good afternoon, all gentlemen. So I think we have been given 45 minutes to discuss. I know this topic is such that we can keep on going for 45 hours, but let's stick to the timeline. And though would like to have it in person, but let's try to make it interactive. So even if I put up a question or point by naming someone, others can also contribute to it. So obsession with cricket is, I think, someone is needs to go on mute. I believe who is because I'm hearing my voice again. Professor Shetty, you're on mute.
Yeah,
Okay, that's better now. Yeah. So obsession with cricket is such that I would like to put it. Yeah, we all know that Indians are obsessed with cricket. Cricket is a religion here, but I would like to put it into 2 parts. One is about the obsession of an Indian cricket fan as a follower of a cricket, and one is about the Indian professional athlete who wants to take cricket or obsessed to take cricket as a profession. So just want to keep it into. I know it overlaps at one point in the journey, but still to start with, keeping it separate. So uh, just to give my experience, 2 weeks back, I was in World Cup Australia, saw Indians everywhere, and we saw the obsession that's as recent as that. But would like to start with Boria, who is currently in the most obsessed sport, event kind of is witnessing the World Cup football in Qatar. Uh, so, what is your thought? I mean, because what I heard is in Australia is that the people are getting divided to kind of plan their money and time to go to Qatar or to Australia. So, are we the obsession of cricket is something still intact for India, or we are going in England way a little bit for the coming generations where it's getting divided into other sports? What's your view, Boria?
Hi, firstly, thank you for having me. Just a bit down under the weather, so the voice may be a little problematic. I think the topic is fundamentally flawed. We are not obsessed with cricket. We are never obsessed with cricket, never been. The topic is wrong. We are obsessed with spectacles. If we are obsessed with cricket, we would have watched Ranji Trophy, we would have watched Vijay Hazare, we would have watched domestic cricket, we would have watched every possible kind of sport that we are obsessed with. Tell me one domestic game which has the same amount of spectators as even a Mohun Bagan East Bengal today. You don't have. Or an FC Goa versus Bengaluru FC. You don't have. What do you watch? You watch IPL. You watch international cricket. So let's be clear.
Hmm.
Indians are obsessed with spectacles. Indians are obsessed with international cricket. Indians are not obsessed with domestic cricket, which is still watched by one dog, two crows, and two cats. That's it. As far as going forward is concerned, the volume of tickets sold for Qatar by Indian agents approximately is about 240 odd crores. That is a fact. 240 crores from the Indian market. And the same agents were struggling to sell tickets for Australia during, except the India Pakistan match.
Yeah,
The
true.
India Pakistan match was the grandest spectacle of all tickets sold, and everybody, why things got okay for these people? Because there was a possibility of an India Pakistan final.
Hmm.
So, because there was a possibility of an India Pakistan final, people sold their tickets. So, to lay it out, I would suggest that the topic should be revised. We are obsessed, yes, but we are obsessed with spectacles. We are obsessed with international cricket to a degree, that too not test matches. Even Sachin's 200 test match and retirement test match at the Wankhede, Professor Shetty was in charge. He will also say it was not full. All the VIPs of the world came down. Not one day Wankhede was full, not one day Eden Gardens was full. It was a shocker. They weren't full, and that's on
Hmm.
record. 2011, 82 people in Calcutta at the Eden Gardens, supposed to be the venue where test matches, etc., etc. India versus West Indies. So only particular forms of the game do we sort of obsess with. I would leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. And certainly, that was my next question actually in the discussion about the domestic cricket and opposite. That's definitely is going to come. But still, the India Zimbabwe, for example, 82,000 at MCG, out of which 80,000 were Indians. But so you, according to you, even if it's a Zimbabwe, they came for the because it's a World Cup and because it's a international game. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I mean, and it is an occasion. It's a spectacle. You travel. You are not going to go to Australia for one game. You will be there. You will do cricket tourism on the side. You will do all of that, and you will love the spectacle. You love the occasion. यार देखो, हमारे देश में ना हम ये बिग टिकट दिखाते हैं. मैं ये गेम में गया था. ये कतार में भी हो रहा है. ये कतार में भी हो रहा है. हर दिन मैं देखता हूँ मैच के बाद इंडियंस वहां खड़ा हो जाते हैं स्टेडियम के बाहर में ऐसे होर्डिंग्स लेके, गिव मी योर मैच टिकट. मैं एक दिन
Oh,
जाके पूछा, क्यों पूछ रहे हो भाई, क्यों मांग रहे हो? he said आप टिकट दे दीजिए, मैं फेसबुक में डाल दूंगा. I'm like, मतलब क्या हुआ? So this is like that. We
hmm.
are obsessed with this social whatever. My fundamental point is Professor Shetty has been organizing it. Devendra has been part of the media relations of the board. They've tried for a long, long time. Are we still conscious? Yes, the board is conscious, but are we as fans? And there is a clear demarcation. Are the fans conscious or obsessed with domestic cricket, except a handful? If we fans do not follow domestic cricket and make stars out of domestic cricket, not the IPL, are we obsessed with cricket?
Yeah, I agree. So that actually prompts me to for the second part of the question about the player part. If Professor Shetty and Devendra, both you can answer, but we have heard the stories of Sunil Gavaskar coming from the international tour and going to play the Kanga. But now you see, no one plays Kanga. The Time Shield, I was seeing the scores, hardly the recognizable names. So Time Shield, Kanga League, even the domestic cricket, as Boria said. So why the players who are choosing the profession? Are you think they are kind of looking only for a particular or is it selective obsession to reach the IPL level or to the kind of a glamour level? Is that something happening in the from the other side of obsession, the players who are taking the cricket as a profession? Why there are not many names and who are coming ahead, from the Kanga leagues and Time Shield, that kind of, over the kind of a glamorous tournament one time, right? So what is that lacking from the player's point of view? Yeah, go ahead, anyone.
Well, I think one has to accept the fact that till mid 90s, you had the players participating in the domestic tournament matches. And that is the reason for that is that there were less international matches till then.
Yeah.
The volume of international matches has increased after that with the more of ODIs and then the T20 getting added. And although our players don't play the other T20 leagues in the world, but still the volume of international matches is so much that they are not available for domestic cricket. And even if they are available, I mean, the kind of enthusiasm which the former cricketers had to come on the ground and play for the state team
Yeah.
is something which is lacking in these days, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A Bombay playing a Ranji Trophy, whether it is Gavaskar or Vengsarkar or Tendulkar in those days, they would turn up for the match and would like to play for their state team because that was important for the state team to do well. That is something which is lacking in these days, and part of it is more of international cricket. Part of it is lack of enthusiasm, and the feeling that your association comes first.
I'll quickly add before you go to Devendra. Professor Shetty is spot on. Now, domestic cricket or Ranji Trophy is used after you get back from injury. कि चाहे दो मैच खेल लेते हैं, थोड़ा सा in the thing on ground थोड़ा सा हो जाएगा practice. Let's treat it as a kind of time in the middle. Not because you want to play, but because you are there to get some time in the middle, get your form back before you come back. It's injury recuperation or injury convalesce करने के लिए, not because of pride. The word pride is important here.
Absolutely.
That word is fundamental to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely with you. And Devendra, I mean, you have worked with so many players for the biographies and all this. See, I get queries, from many budding cricketers, rather cricketing players, parents. Can you introduce me to a better coach so that at least he can reach the level of IPL? So, do you think that perception has changed? Like earlier, there was a pride to play for Mumbai, pride to play for their Ranji team. Now the pride and then this is a selective obsession, maybe linked with the monetization or monetary part of it. So, do you think that this is how it's getting changed, or is it the right assessment of where we are heading?
I think it is just we are a product of the times we live in, and it is not probably not fair to blame the current generation if they are wanting to think about the monetary aspect. I will tell you one story. This is December 2010, by which time the IPL was 3 seasons old, and we were doing the recce of the World Cup venues, the ICC 2011 World Cup venues, and we started at Delhi, then went over to Mohali, and Mr. Suru Nayak, our former colleague in the BCCI, who was general manager operations. So he was part of he was the tournament director India. So he was Professor Shetty's deputy in India. And we were at one of the practice grounds in Mohali. And obviously there were all these coaching camps going on. And the word spread around that a former test cricketer has come there to recce the venue. And all the boys from that particular coaching academy, they came over, they all lined up, and they touched Suru sir's feet, sought his blessings. And the first question they asked him is, "Sir, IPL mein khelne ke liye kya karna padega?" Mind you, this is when the IPL is 3 seasons old, just started. And I remember him saying that, why not think about playing for Punjab first? But that is, I think we are a product of the times we live in, and nowadays there are options all over in multiple fields. So sport is no exception, cricket is no exception, and we are already seeing in other parts of the cricketing world how cricketers are not signing contracts with their boards because they want to freelance. And indeed in other professions also we are seeing that freelancing is now the in thing. So cricket is nothing but a reflection of society at large, and that
Okay.
is there are just too many options nowadays. So I think it would probably be unfair to say that the current law doesn't have the pride. It is just that there are far too many options for them to choose from.
Okay. It's quite ironical because you told the incident of Punjab, and incidentally, Punjab was the only state who put a cap on playing under, I mean, T20 player for the, for the age restriction. So, and they were asking for the IPL. So that was the only state I remember. I don't know whether it's still there or they removed it, but it was the only state who put a cap on the age limit to play the T20. So coming, see, I'm taking the word obsession with many flavors. So, see, worldwide people or the experts also say that India have potential of playing three test teams at one time and of equal quality and all this. So it's a question more towards now the BCCI. How this obsession, or we can put a method to the madness, do you think that uh, or it has been in the place, or it's in the progress, especially using the tools like a data and analytics and something? Because what we are seeing on the field again and again doesn't show the kind of investment we might be doing, which is little more on the head part than the obsession, which is close to the heart part. So, like we have seen in the 2019 World Cup, we struggled with the number four till the end. Here also, in recent World Cup, we saw the debates of Pant versus uh, Karthik, and who should open, why should open. So these are the things. Do you think this method to the madness has come in the BCCI in form of a, let's say, data platform strategy or something which is giving the meaningful insights to take informed decisions, or we are still obsessed with our gut feeling and taking the calls for the team selections?
Sir, I think you should.
Or I'll add one more so you can answer. Maybe what we have written columns about how Surya Kumar Yadav prepared it on a Parsi Gymkhana to prepare the Australian wickets and all this. Don't you think it's a BCCI led initiative based on the data that this is what is we are going to get in Australia, and it's as a collective team effort we should prepare on such thing rather than the individual going and taking the initiative and getting prepared. So that's what my question is: the obsession and the preparation is it's all still by gut feeling and experience rather than the data driven strategy or informed decisions?
Well, I
I
think
think
fact is that every player has his own preparations before an important tour or an important tournament, and I don't think BCCI plays any role there, apart from the official camps which are conducted and where they are spoken to about what the team feels and how it will go about. But lot of these players have their own camps or their own preparations ahead of these tournaments, and that is what you read about Surya Kumar Yadav as one of the example. I think there are others also who must be doing that for sure. But Surya Kumar got highlighted because of his performances.
Yeah, because the question came to mind because what England did with the data platform provision. Okay, they got we talk 360-degree in a very loosely way nowadays, but how you get a data for the the venue for the opposition, and then you prepare and select the right combination. So that is purely a kind of a scientific way. That's what I call it, the method to the madness, which has come to Australia, England, and New Zealand with a data platform strategy. But is it something is in India also? I know we have the video analyst and all this. We are working with it, but uh, I just want to know the level of that obsession of having the data into the play. Boria or Devendra, you
I
may add.
think I think 2005 onwards, a lot of work has gone into the BCCI, and we have till recently we were talking about the successes of the Indian Test team post 2015-16, and obviously the culmination, the pinnacle was what happened in Australia in early 21, and all that is was a direct outcome of everything that happened in the BCCI post in the, you could say, the start of the second decade of the new millennium. A lot of infrastructure development, and what you mentioned, video analysis, a lot of hard work was done behind the scenes, and I had the great fortune of being a witness to all those changes that were happening. And I think in January 2021, if we would have had this discussion, we would have all said that yes, there is reason to believe that we can field, more than two teams at the highest level, and those teams will do very well. So yeah, I think the BCCI is on the right track. I think this is a bit of a difficult phase, but I mean that again. Having said that, the fact is that what happened in Australia, we reached the semi-finals. I personally believe yes, there are issues that need to be addressed, but it is not as big as what happened in 2007 when we were knocked out of the first round. And indeed, it is not even as big as what happened in April, May 2000, when a lot of people were disillusioned by the game of cricket because of, let's not really go into that. But I don't think this is as big a crisis as those two. We have, the BCCI has systems in place, and we will find a solution to all this very soon.
Let me answer this in two parts. I disagree with Devendra as far as the semi-final is concerned, and I'll give you a Rohit Sharma story. Rohit and I were chatting, and this was after he had scored those 500s in the 2019 World Cup. And I said, great performance. And he said, performance करके फायदा क्या होता है? जो ट्रॉफी जीतना था वो तो दूसरा ड्रेसिंग रूम में, इस परफॉर्मेंस का क्या मतलब? अरे दादा, सीरियसली पूछने से 3 टीम या 4 टीम तो क्रिकेट खेलता है, 4 देश क्रिकेट खेलता है. इस 4 देश में अगर आप नहीं आ सकते हो with all this infrastructure, with all this money, then what is the point? Actually agree. If you really think it's England, Australia, India, to a degree New Zealand, maybe South Africa, पाकिस्तान के पास कुछ है ही नहीं, फिर चलो 5-6 लगा लो. If after that, from 2013, Pakistan has won, West Indies has won, England has won, New Zealand has won, Australia has won, India hasn't won. In one word, disaster. No, let's not sugarcoat things. Number 2, your question was, can we field 3 teams? Yes, we can. If you see age group under 19 performance, fantastic. There, and so is there talent? Massive. So the BCCI is doing something right. That is why this talent is being honed. But no amount of data can tell you how to play a semi-final. No data analytics person will come and tell you how to play a final. Nobody.
Yeah.
In sport, it is real, not real. No retakes. How will you go a semi-final? You mean to say a Virat Kohli, a Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul aren't good enough in a pitch at Manchester? Who said so? And we are down to 10 for 3. You mean to say in a World Championship Test match final, one session gone bad, you will lose? So clearly there is an issue. And if you take that thing, all the defeats in the knockout punch matches, you will see there is an issue. Has the BCCI tried to address it? Yes. They got Paddy Upton for Australia. They did try. But question is, KL Rahul was the only batsman who played 2 or 3 maiden overs. Now, clearly, playing a maiden over in this format currently is unacceptable. Okay? KL Rahul is one of the most talented players I know. Every shot in the book, every possible stroke is an absolute gem when he is in flow. And the point is, this continued right through the power plays, right through the tournament. My question for Paddy Upton is, what was done to address? What did we see? If there was a mental issue, because see, अगर आप एक मैच में power play में 35, India's average was 30, India's average was 35, whereas other teams like England, average was 65.
Netherlands was better. Yeah.
So what was done so is the BCCI to blame? No. There is no way that the BCCI could have done anything else. You went early to Perth, you got acclimatized there. You went early to Australia, you got whatever you wanted there. In every possible way, the board has done its job. Forget it. Now comes the players. How is it that time and again, 500s from Rohit, 200s from KL in the 2019 World Cup, some extremely good knocks, including the match in Australia from Shikhar, Virat. How is it that we choke? We call South Africa chokers, right? Why is it that we also choke in knockout matches? There is a problem. Age group tournaments, we don't choke. Prithvi Shaw's team going to win their what? 100 runs, smashing every opposition under Rahul Dravid. The same Rahul Dravid becomes coach of the national team and this happens. Where is the issue? There is an issue. And the first step, you know what, is acceptance. अगर
Correct.
आप आंख बंद कर दोगे ना like a rabbit, everything is fine. सब ठीक है. Our approach to T20 cricket is fine. Our approach to ODI cricket is fine. कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Accept करो that you are accept. So in fact, I want to ask this to Professor Shetty. Professor Shetty, in the current context, do you think our approach to T20 batting in Australia was wrong? That we were actually trying to conserve wickets and last 5 over में जाके मारेंगे 160-70 बना देंगे जीत जाएंगे. But the whole deal of England, whole deal of other teams is हर बॉल में मारो 200 करो. We did not even reach 200 once, not Bangladesh, not Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Is there acceptance? We heard so much about change in approach. Before the team departed, every time we heard change in approach. My question is, and this, are you talking talent? Virat Kohli, most talented. Rohit Sharma, legend in terms of talent. KL Rahul, serious talent. Surya Kumar Yadav in the form of his life at the moment. So in terms of talent, no question. Where is it going wrong, Professor Shetty? Your thoughts?
Well, I think, as you rightly said, on paper, we had probably the best team to win this World Cup by the way they were playing. But unfortunately, on the ground, I think the idea to retain wickets and then attack in a T20 match didn't deliver for us. And the main cause was, I think, the first 6 overs never gave us a start in any of these matches. I think there the problem was actually, and that is somewhere I think the idea of the strategy for a T20 match is something which definitely the team will work out.
I think there is a fundamental issue when it comes to tactics in 2020. There seems to be a reluctance to accept the fact that this is a different format and we need to do something totally different. Like,
Yeah.
for example, this concept of an anchor, what Jeffrey Marsh did in the 1987 World Cup. Now, I'm going 35 years back and other people have done it in ODIs over the years. There is no, like, anchoring is not relevant to T20 cricket.
Yeah.
There is something that people need to rack their brains and come up with. They haven't really cracked that 2020 mystery, at least in our country. But I think we have competent heads, and I'm sure they will come up with something very soon. But this, as I said, something like an anchor. The concept of an anchor is obsolete when it comes to 2020.
Yeah.
Just
What
Devendra
about
hits
what
the
about
nail on the
finisher?
head.
We tweeted a specialist
I
finisher.
think Nimish, give me a minute. Devendra hits the nail on the head. Where we go wrong? We talk of white ball cricket. Red ball, white ball. There is nothing called white ball cricket. 50 over cricket is fundamentally different to 20 over cricket.
Yeah.
There is nothing called white ball cricket. हम लोग ना दोनों को एक कर देते हैं. We merge 20 over cricket with 50 over cricket. We approach 20 over cricket with the same mindset of 50 over cricket. Build करेंगे, जाके last में मारेंगे. Exactly what Devendra is talking about. And this has been going on. I mean, I was quite pleased when the team left for Australia. Repeatedly, we were told that there will be a change in approach. Repeatedly. वो हमें नहीं दिखने को मिला. We did not see that in any of our games. Can the BCCI address it? No. Can any amount of data analytics address it? All of us have the data in front of us. We all know our power play was wrong. You don't need any extra data analytics for that. Did the team have every possible facility in the world? Yes, they did. It is a question of here. Because clearly when it comes to knockouts, there's an issue. This runner ball nahi chalta hai. Next year the World Cup is on home soil. Hopefully we will be able to address it because look, this is our best opportunity.
Yeah.
You haven't won an ICC trophy in a good 10 years. However much you have an IPL and you are the nerve center of the world game, you need to win an ICC trophy. Period. Win it.
Do you think that we tried our kind of different combinations for the very last end. I mean, we didn't give those 6 matches to the final 11 or final 15, rather than we kept on experimenting for too long. Was that also cause, or was it required? I mean, too many combinations, too many things we did for here, and finally, we kind of didn't give the enough practice for the final 15 or final 11. They're always kind of and what about then the doubts putting in a player like Rishabh Pant if he's not fitting in my scheme of 11, and then you are suddenly pulling him in? So do you think it's a strategy also kind of thing, or I mean, was it? I mean, it's very easy to criticize once you fail or lose. I know, but still, for a player like a young player like a Pant, if he's getting that feeling that I'm not fitting in my captain's or team management scheme of T20 11, then how that player has to come out and show. I mean, unnecessarily he might try something different and many things to prove his point or prove his potential, which is not actually required. But so there was a that's what I was thinking from the data point of view, that you should know who is the best player in the 11 to play at a particular venue against particular side, or we just take decisions by the experience.
I think when it comes to the next year's 50 over World Cup, the planning has to start now if it hasn't started already. And we have to just learn from the past, I feel. The planning for the 2003 World Cup started exactly a year before the tournament. We'll all remember Rahul being told to keep wicket and Sachin moving into the middle order. Obviously, for the World Cup, again, he came back to open. But a lot of planning went in. 2007 classic example of no planning. I think everything was in complete disarray even weeks before the tournament started. And there's that incident which Prof has also mentioned in his book about the senior players requesting the senior office bearers of the board not to send Greg Chappell with the team to the West Indies. Total
Mhm.
disarray. For the 2011 50 over World Cup, again, the planning started, well, months, if not years in advance. So I think it's very like, identifying a group of, say, 20 players maybe, and sticking to them for the remainder of the year, the subsequent 11 months leading up to the tournament, and having a constant dialogue with them, monitoring their performances. Because yes, we have a problem, I feel, of too many riches, and that is what can lead to confusion, because there's too much chopping and changing never helps. But I think identifying a pool of 20-25 players and telling them in advance that this is what we expect from you, and then scheduling ODIs in a proper way, I think that would be the way to go about it.
Mhm. Okay, but then the planning part. I mean, I'm coming back to the what Boria said in the first comment. Okay, uh, the domestic cricket, and that's again linked to that obsession. Okay, part. So, to test my player for a 50-over game, will I, or let's take example, easy example of a 20-over. Will I put him in a IPL, or will I put him in a Mushtaq Ali Trophy to test him? And that's what is kind of a difference. We are taking IPL standards to qualify for the international team, and it's failing. Is that happening? Or they should play the more and more domestic cricket like others do in Sheffield Shield and that, whenever. So is that something we that will again may lead to the spectators back to the ground?
Well, I think
Again, as
if you look at uh, the the current situation and compare it with what we have seen in Indian cricket. See, those who have played domestic cricket for about 8 to 10 years and scored a lot of runs, they have stuck around for a longer period of time in international cricket because they
Yes.
could sustain with their talent and with the hard work that has gone in to remain in whether in the ODI or whether in the T20 format. And that applies also to all the players who played IPL in the first 3 or 4 seasons. All the international cricketers who were established cricketers in the test format also did well in the IPL. And it's not necessary, therefore, that you only focus on the shorter format and then you become a good player. And
True.
unfortunately, in last couple of years, there have been cases where those who did well in IPL got into the Indian team, and that sort of sends a message also around that why should I play Ranji Trophy if
Correct.
I can play for India from IPL?
Correct.
That's it. That's the matter of concern actually, which BCCI has to deal with. and the
So
selectors
that's what I
also.
said. Can we put some method to this madness? Like my route to India is IPL is kind of a clear perception, at least for the shorter form of the game. So can it be a more structured that you need to play Vijay Hazare, you need to play Ranji, you need to play Mushtaq Ali? Then only that's a qualifying criteria. I mean, is that something we can insist? I know international calendar is busy, but I'm talking of the aspiring players who are kind of knocking the door. So, is that something we can put it a mandatory or the number of games? We can put the mandatory requirement for the selector. So same thing for the applying for the post. Then why can't we put it for the Indian team? I mean, someone coming directly from IPL to Indian team. I mean, there could be a counter argument to it, like what we did with Ajinkya Rahane's team in Australia. I know, but that's exception. But can we put it some structure to it?
Well, I think basically BCCI has its own structure, its own dialogue with the selectors on these matters, and it's time that we really take it seriously as to the importance of domestic cricket has to be considered. If we really want to sustain our performance at international cricket, as Boria rightly said, with only 6 teams, we compete among 6 teams to be at the top,
Mhm.
and therefore, I think that's an area which really needs concern.
Hmm. Okay. Or will it be something like the TRDS or something, that those kind of a schemes which to unearth more and more cricketers from the B or C class cities to give it a more structured way will help to get the notice, get them notice with the by the good selectors or good kind of a talent catchers. Is that something
I think
planned?
that is
Because
already happening.
that is happening. Oh, great.
That's already 2002, 2003 onwards that has been happening, and
Yeah.
the success of the junior Indian teams, and I mean, look at our record in the under 19 World Cups, as Boria also mentioned. I think that is a direct outcome of the work that has happened at the grassroots level all over the country. So that is
Mhm.
already happening in a big way.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're talking about the talent scout thing,
Yeah,
basically.
because it's more number of kind of a selectors, in other words, who can reach out to the each game and find out.
Yeah, the
Who,
idea, I think, the idea of having, some of the top Indian cricketers when they met Justice Loda committee, this was one of the suggestions. Even if there are 3 selectors instead of 5,
hmm,
and not the zonal concept, it will work if there is another set of selectors, the talent search officers, who will
correct.
watch every match, and they will give their feedback to the main selectors. That's the idea from which the recommendation came, as that you remove the zonal selection and have only 3 selectors. But that
That's true.
was that didn't work actually, because the second level of talent officers were not there, and I
That,
don't think 3 selectors can do justice to Indian cricket.
yeah, absolutely. They can't. I mean, the number of matches and tournaments what they have to cover, it's practically impossible. And as we just discussed, only the data can't give you the right talent. So yeah, so what is? I mean, just now we are almost towards the wrapping up in terms of the timeline. So this obsession to the cricket, not to the spectacle, what Buria said. If we want to actually change the mindset of a Indian from a kids to the adults, what is that we need to do? So it can give you the fruits of getting the better cricketers also in the system that don't play for gallery but play for the game. So what is that is required at a level to get the attention of Indians to be more obsessed with the game, not with the spectacle? What is that two things you can tell each?
Nimish, you are 41 minutes, 22 seconds into the session,
Yes.
and all we have discussed is men's cricket.
Ah.
That's all we have discussed. Doesn't that tell you what we are obsessed with? Cricket is not played only by men. We
True.
have discussed only men's cricket. When the Rohit Sharma team travels to Australia, you call it the Indian cricket team. When the Harmanpreet Kaur team travels to wherever, you call it the Indian women's cricket team. Change there. Change your mindset for God's sake. They are also the Indian cricket.
Indian team.
How many people watch women's domestic cricket, you tell me? Women constitute 50% of the population, if not more. The game is viable. We are starting a women's IPL for God's sake, which will improve the standard by leaps and bounds. And aren't we glad that it's finally starting? Imagine what it will do to the sport when thousands of women now take to the sport. So, if we really have to be obsessed, we have to be obsessed in a holistic, comprehensive way, not just about one particular segment. How? Spread it across. The question is spread it across your domestic cricket, your women's cricket, of course, your international cricket and your men's cricket. But it cannot be just spectacles. We make heroes and superstars out of one IPL performance.
Yeah.
आईपीएल में 4 डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेटर खेलते हैं, वो इजी है टॉप बैट्समैन के लिए मारने के लिए. आपको भी पता है, मेरे को भी पता है, प्रोफेसर शेट्टी को भी पता है. And that is the truth. MS Dhoni क्यों इतना साल मैनेज कर लिया? 41. MS Dhoni still can hit those sixes, and MS Dhoni is the best brain in the cricket world that I have possibly come across. He knows. He knows where to hit, who to hit. So IPL cannot be the door to Indian cricket. Professor Shetty is 200% right. 200%. So my suggestion, if you really want to be obsessed with the sport, take the Australian example for men and women, take the English example for men and women. Now back both, try gender equity. I was delighted when the board announced equal pay. I will be further delighted when the board announces equal pay for domestic cricketers. That has not been done. The decision is only for international cricketers. You are talking about 20 people, 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
If you are talking domestic cricket, you know how much they get? 12,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees. The men get 8 times, 10 times more. So the process has started. Let us fast track this process. Then we can talk about obsession.
Thank you. Any thoughts on this, Professor Shetty, Devendra? Just a closing comments.
No, I agree with Boria. I think Indian cricket, women's cricket is on the rise. And since BCCI took over women's cricket in 2006, there are a lot of plans which were in place with the involvement of former international women cricketers. They were there in the committee. And what we are seeing today is actually, led by Mithali Raj and Julam Goswami. I think these two stars really were able to get a good bunch of cricketers to continue further and create a base for women's cricket in India. I think we are indebted to those two now.
True.
I think there is some phenomenal talent, and again, I must say I was lucky to do a lot of work with the women's team from 2008 to 2015. The BCCI had just taken over women's cricket, so I remember Professor Shetty and I, we ensured that every single women's series there's a media conference at least. There are media sessions, and try and generate that kind of awareness. And we have some phenomenal talent. If you look at the record of our team, you will see that they have made it to the finals of almost all the important the events that really matter in the last 5-6 years. So it's only a matter of time before they take that extra step and conquer the summit. But there's no looking back now for women's cricket in India.
Nimish, one point I want to put on record. We are continuously making points and we are being constructively critical. That's fine. But February is the South Africa World Cup for women.
Yeah.
I want to see how many media houses send their representatives.
Yes.
I really want to see. In Australia, you were there. 50 Indian journalists, if not more, right?
True.
I actually want to see how many media houses send their representatives to South Africa to back the women's game. It will tell you where the priorities are.
That's a good measure. Yeah, I
No,
agree.
it's true. Actually, Boria has brought out a very good point. When we were in Lords for the final of Women's World Cup in 2017, there was not a single media representative from India to cover that ICC event, nor forget television channels, not even the top print media was not represented there. And I still remember Boria calling me up, and there was a rush for interviews of the players because they had reached the final.
Mhm.
But the event was not covered. Although hats off to ICC that they showed all the India games on the television, and that made a lot of difference. I feel at that point in time.
True.
Has
That's
to change, should start at home. From my
yes.
platform, I can tell you today I will send somebody to South Africa. Not just cricket. Every major sport, the day Neeraj Chopra won his Diamond League, the same day Virat got his 100 against Afghanistan. There were 30 Indian journalists covering Dubai. There was not one Indian journalist covering Neeraj Chopra's Diamond League gold. Which is more important? 200 times Neeraj Chopra's gold is more important
Absolutely.
than a relatively unimportant 100 against Afghanistan, right? We weren't there. That is how our priorities are. Women's cricket, every time there is a major tournament, I will send somebody. It has to start. अगर
Yes.
हम नहीं करेंगे तो ये नहीं बनेगा.
That's true. Absolutely true. I completely agree. And that's a really good measure stick to see. Yeah. I think we're over time, but I don't see any comments or thing. I don't know whether we can see it or the anchor will see it. Or we can see only time check, but there are no comments on it. No, I think we are told that we can see the comment in the. Okay, no questions. Fine. So let's continue. So just maybe we talked a lot and we talked more on the criticized part and something, but just would like to hear from each of you the most kind of obsessed story of either a cricketer or whatever you have come across in your writings, so many books. So if you can just narrate it to just put it on a happy and a good note we can close it. So
I will give you one story and leave because then Professor Shetty and Devendra can close it out. Again, not because of anything else, but not feeling well.
I agree.
Has to be about Sachin Tendulkar, whose autobiography I had the opportunity to co-write. This was ahead of the 2003 South Africa World Cup, and Sachin was carrying three injuries. One, he was practicing with a baseball mitt, if you see, and so he was practicing with that gloves. He had an ankle injury and he had an elbow problem as well. For his ankle injury, he would strap it every day. Rather, the physio would come and strap it every day for him, and it would take about 30 odd minutes. So one day he felt that, first thing in the morning I get up and I see a physio. I don't want to do this. First thing in the morning, I don't want to tell myself about an injury, so I will do it myself. Ahead of the match against Pakistan, he came back after practice and he says he pulled open the strapping. He pulled open the strapping and he said, Boria, you know what? I was feeling reddish brown in my hands. The flesh from his big toe had come out. There was a gaping hole under his big toe. The flesh had come out. He had two options before him. He could cut it out with a scissor and put it back and strap it again, or call the physio and said, I am not available. He scored 98 of 78 balls.
Wow. Great.
So with your permission, I'll leave, but thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. It was
after such a long time. Devendra, always a pleasure. Nimish bhai, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Boria.
Thank you. Thanks.
So from your side, any obsession stories to close the things?
There are plenty because there is
Yeah.
more dearth of cricket
You can
followers
choose
in our
one
country.
of your
I'll
choice.
probably talk about Mr. Gavaskar and how he responded whenever the chips were down. So there was a phase in his career immediately after the '83 World Cup where the West Indies came to India with revenge on their minds, and there was a test match at Kanpur. He was out for zero in the first innings, and in the second innings, the bat got knocked out of his hand because he anticipated the ball from Marshall Rose, and he anticipated that the ball would hit his hands, and he loosened the grip. but the ball hit the handle below the hands and it got knocked out. But that bat getting knocked off prompted many people to declare that his career is over. And one very senior Indian cricket writer even said that I do not see Gavaskar scoring even a single 50 in this series, and it's on record. And the very next test, 2 days later, Mr. Gavaskar scored a century in 94 balls. So basically batted like Virender Sehwag in the test match at Delhi. That was his 29th century. But that's obsession. You sit back and you plan. He started hooking, and he took the bowlers by surprise, the fast bowlers by surprise by playing the hook shot. So that is the obsession. And I think that sort of, when the cricketers are so obsessed and they are so single-minded about excellence, I think that sort of percolates down to their fans.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
one of the reasons why cricket has been so popular is, I think every generation has produced icons who have then
Yeah.
inspired the youngsters, and that sort of relay has continued, and it will continue.
True.
Yeah, Indian cricket is as if the baton has been passing over from one generation to another, and uh, their loyalties, their obsession for Indian cricket, and wanting Indian cricket to do well at all times. I think these are qualities which in fact has helped Indian cricket so far, and I'm sure that that's something which will continue over the years.
Sure. I think thank you so much. It was great interacting with you. And yeah, so thank you for having you on this session.
Our pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
This was a very interesting discussion. Thank you, Boria Mazumdar, Professor Ratnakar Shetty, Devendra Prabhudesai, and Nimish Patgaonkar for being PILF guests. Our next session begins at 5:30 p.m. Please join us for Finding Feet in the World of Books with Shantanu Sharma, Pamela Sinha, and Nitya Sashi, moderated by Anjali Kirpalani. See you at 5:30.